Let me just go ahead. All right, so perfect. All right, so I know that I know some of you, and I know that to some of you, I'm a new person. So I'll just go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Miss Tara, and I work over at the Wernersville Public Library. So hi. So I'm super excited that you guys are joining us today, and that your grown-ups are joining us too. That's a lot of fun. And I'm super excited for our Sink or Float program. So before we even get started, I mentioned that we are recording this. So if there's anyone that's uncomfortable with that, you are more than welcome to turn off your camera. We normally just have you guys have the camera on initially so that we can see who you are. But after that, you're more than welcome to turn that off. As I mentioned a couple times, if you can make sure that your audio stays off for this program, that'd be super helpful just so you can hear me the whole time. Because sometimes, as a lot of parents know right now, if a bunch of people are talking on Zoom, it's very hard to hear. Let's see. Also, if you guys haven't yet, I think most of you did, if not all of you, but if you could go into the chat, just put the first names of the children participating and the amount of people in your household participating today. That just helps us with our statistics. It helps us by reporting those to get funding for the library every year. So that is super helpful, and we really do appreciate it. So, okay, the last thing is, if you guys would have any questions during the program, feel free to have one of your grown-ups type it in the chat box, and I will make sure to check it every once in a while. That way, if you guys have questions, I can help. So, okay, so we're doing our Sink or Float program today. So what we're going to be learning about is what density is and what buoyancy is, and they're actually two different things, and they're actually pretty cool. So when you talk about the density of an item, it actually has to do with the molecules and how close those molecules are together in an item. And the more closely those molecules are together, the heavier it's going to be, which causes the item to sink. Buoyancy is the opposite, so that's when an item floats to the top of water versus sinks down to the bottom. And you'll see today, I'll lift this up very carefully. I have a Tupperware container, see right here, that I have filled halfway with water. Now I have it filled halfway with water because I am in front of my laptop, and heaven forbid I would drop it on my laptop. That wouldn't be too good. But the first thing that you guys are going to have at home is either a bowl or a Tupperware container that you could have filled halfway with water. So if you guys do have one of those set up already, that's great. And if not, I'll just be talking with you guys for the next couple minutes, and maybe one of your grown-ups could grab that for you. So what we're going to do first is, if you guys can pick up the kit that you hopefully picked up, you'll need the kits that you have. Perfect. Okay. So I will say, if you guys didn't pick up a kit from the library, that is a-okay. You're more than welcome to listen to how this goes today and try it on your own. Or I believe we have 5 or 6 extras at the library. So if you're here today and your family maybe didn't have time to pick it up, we are open tomorrow 9:30 to 2:30, and you're more than welcome to come and pick up one of those extra kits. But as you can see, yours probably looks like this, and it has the name of what we have going on in here. Now, the cool thing that you guys might have noticed when you picked up your kits is that there were 2 separate activities in your bag, okay? There was the popsicle stick catapults that we did last Friday, and then the items for the Sink or Float today. So they also have 2 instruction sheets. So for those of you who couldn't make our STEM catapult program last week, that's something that you can do on your own. You'd want to go ahead and take those items out of the bag and put them to the side. Just that way so you don't get confused between the 2 separate activities. We are going to go right now through what goes on in this activity, and that can kind of help you separate them. So I'm going to go ahead and go in my bag here. Magical bag, right? So I'm going to go ahead and go in the bag here, and then I'm going to pull out my first thing. Now, we're just, like I said, we're just going to go through what our objects are first. We're not going to do anything with them yet, okay? And make sure that you're careful with those rubber bands because they can snap pretty hard. I don't want anyone to get hurt, okay? So the first thing that we have is the Sink or Float worksheet. It's like a mini worksheet. So you want to pick that up and put that to the side. Very good. For those of you that are holding it up, thank you so much. Make sure you put that to the side, and you want to grab a pen or a pencil. That way we can start with our hypothesis after we go through our bag and try to figure out what we think will sink and what will float. Very good. I see those pencils. Awesome. Okay, so then the next thing I'm going to go ahead and pull out is a straw, right? Normally we use this to suck up some of our drink, but today we're going to use it for our project. Very good. So we're going to go ahead and put that to the side. Let's go in and get this cool, I forget what the actual name of it is, but this kind of bubble that's like in a candy machine or in a toy machine. So I think we should all have one of those. They're all different colors. Put that to the side. The next thing I want you to get out is your rubber band. Make sure you have your rubber band for you, but don't pull too hard. Like I said, from working at the library, all myself and my coworkers know is that if you snap it too hard, it's going to hurt. And I don't want that for you guys. So put that to the side. Next would be our cotton ball. Who has their cotton ball? Very good. Awesome. Okay? It's very soft, right? It's almost like your favorite teddy bear or like snow, except it's not cold. Let's get out our pom-pom. Who has their pom-pom? Now you're all going to have different colored pom-poms, but that's kind of like a cotton ball. It's very soft. Very good. Okay. Next, let's look in here. Let's get out our big bead. Who has their big, beautiful bead? It might be a different color. Very good. Some of you have blue, some of you have green. This one's a pink. Awesome. Okay, we're getting through all our items here. Who knows what this is? Let's pull out our crayon. You guys know what crayons are. Very good. Yes, you do. You guys know what crayons are. All right. I think we have 3 more things in our bag. It's pretty impressive, right? Let's get out our popsicle stick. Who has a popsicle stick? Very good. Awesome. You guys are great at showing this. I appreciate that. Then this one we want to be a little careful with because it's kind of pointy. Let's get out our toothpick. Remember, this has pointy ends, so just like the rubber band, you want to be a little careful. Then our final thing, who has our final thing? It's our little tiny teeny bead. Who has the little tiny teeny bead? Very good. You guys are awesome at this. Okay. And then finally, you can take your bag and you can put it to the side. Actually, when you're completely done with it, you could recycle it. Or, fun thing, which we didn't talk about before, but maybe you could make a bag puppet. Oh, someone doesn't have a big ball. Okay, so I'm so sorry for that. What I would say is that at that point in the experiment, you just go ahead and watch what happens for the other people. Or you could pick up, if you have any small plastic toys, anything that's made out of the same material that's lightweight would be able to be used, but I do apologize if that wasn't in the bag. I'm so sorry. But when you're done with your bag, you're more than welcome to make a puppet. And if you fold it carefully, you can make him have a mouth. See? Very good. So that's a lot of fun too. All right. So before we move on, let me just go ahead and check the chat. I think I only missed one. Okay, awesome. So I'll just check the chat every couple minutes just to make sure I didn't miss anybody. All right, so we went through everything that we had. So what I want you guys to do, this is the hypothesis part. Now, a hypothesis during a science experiment is a really cool thing, and all scientists all over the world do this. So by you doing this, you can now call yourself a scientist, which is super cool. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to take your sink or float worksheet. Does everyone have this? Very good. Okay, awesome. So we're going to take the next couple minutes. It's 5:45. I'm going to give us until 5:50, which I know 5 minutes sounds like a long time before we get started, but it's important. What I want you guys to do is, I know it's backwards for when you're looking at it, but On the left-hand side, there's a column that says object, okay? And then the middle column says, what do you think will happen? Do you think it will sink or do you think it'll float? And then on the right column here, it says what actually happened. Did it sink or did it float? So we're gonna pretend that this right column doesn't exist right now, okay? Thumbs up, does everyone hear me? Let me see your thumbs up if you can hear me. Good job, okay. So we're only gonna pay attention to these two columns to the left. So the first thing we wanna do is we went over all the items in our bag. I want you to write those down. It doesn't matter in any order. I'm gonna take it from a specific order on my end, but you can write them in any order that you want. I want you to write down cotton ball, or small bead, or crayon, and maybe you can get help from your grown-ups at this point, because I know sometimes that can be a little difficult depending on the age. But you want to write all your objects down, okay? And then after you write your objects down, you want to check off in the middle column whether or not you think that item will sink in the water or if that item will float in the water. And what we're doing right now as scientists at this STEM program is we're doing a hypothesis. We're coming up with an idea of what we think is going to happen during our experiment. So for me, I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to start writing down my items too. I'm going to start with crayon. And I think that crayon is going to sink. So I'm going to make a check mark next to, or underneath sink, next to crayon. I'm going to go through and do it that way. So let's see, I did that. And I'll give you guys until 5:50. So let's see, straw. Okay. Okay. Cotton ball. It's a hard choice for some of these. Okay. And if we did it correctly, we should have just enough spaces for all of those. Make sure when you're making your decision too that you're looking at the item for everything that has to do with it. So for this big bead, is it solid or does it have a hole through the middle? Maybe that'll affect something or maybe it won't. The small bead has a very big hole compared to the big bead that has a very small hole. Maybe that would make a difference. Now, as you can see here, I'm going to cover what I chose for my items, but I wrote all my items down, and then I made a hypothesis about what I thought was going to happen with those items. So it's 5:50 now, but I feel like we need a little bit more time. So can everyone do me a favor? When you're done making your hypothesis about what your items are going to do, can you go into the chat box and type in done? D-O-N-E, done. And then that way I know that it's okay to move on because I know how many people I have. And that way I'm not moving too fast for anyone. Thank you very much, Heart Family. Appreciate it. Very good, Candace. Awesome. Okay, thank you, Peyton. Okay. 2, 3, 6. Okay, looks like we have 4 people done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 done. Looks like we're missing 2 people, and that's okay if you still need time. While you're waiting, make sure that you have your container filled with water, whether that's a bowl or, like I said, I used a Tupperware container. It's kind of nice when you use a Tupperware container because you can see through the container. So if something happens to sink, you can see it even better from the side, like you're in an aquarium when you look at the fish. It's the same kind of thing. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I believe that is everyone. So thank you so much, guys. All right, so I'm going to close my chat. So let's see. Let me just double check. All right, and just so you guys know too, like I said, I took my very own guesses. So it'll be fun to see if I was right or wrong on certain things, and we can compare. Okay, so the very next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get started with our experiment. Who's excited? Can I get a big smile if you're excited? Ah, awesome. You guys must be so excited. I'm so excited too. Very good. Okay, so we're going to get started. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we want to have your container with your water. Okay, now because I'm in front of my laptop, I know you guys are too, but you might have a little bit more space. What I'll end up doing is holding my container in front of my computer, putting the item in, and then I'll hold it up to show you guys what happened for me. Now, I do just want to put that out there as a warning that although we all have the same items, some of these same items came from different things. So sometimes, for example, you guys may have a pom-pom that we put in. And all the pom-poms are different colors and they're different makes. So some pom-poms may be thicker or have more like fuzz, and some of them might be smaller and have less. And that is going to change what happens with, say, the pom-pom. So if some of us figure out that our pom-pom did one thing and some of us figure out that it did another, that's okay because we're all scientists and we're having different things happen because it's all different experiments. Okay, so we're going to go through this one by one. And if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to take the order that I wrote our items down on my sheet. So if you guys have them written in a different order, that's a-okay. You'll just go ahead and mark down what happens to that item that we're on at that time. So I've got my container. I hope you guys do too. So for me, we're going to get started with the crayon. So can I have everyone hold up their crayon? Very good, very good. Okay, so I want you to think to yourself, is your crayon super light or does it feel super heavy? Maybe not super heavy, but does it have weight to it? Does it feel like as light as a piece of paper? There is some paper on our crayons, right? Or does it feel as heavy as a rock would? No, right? All right, so what I'm going to do real quick, one last thing before we get started, is I want you guys to make sure that you have some paper towels available because your items are going to get wet. And just in case you have papers down, I don't want you guys to get your stuff wet either. So I have my paper towel. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. All right, I'm going to put mine down here on the floor because I need more space. So let me pull my water back. We've got our crayon, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to slowly put our crayon into the water. And let's see what happens. What happened with our crayon? Well, for my crayon went and floated down very slowly, but then it went and it landed on the bottom of my container. I don't know how well you can see that. But it's interesting, right? Because it didn't float down right away. It didn't sink right to the bottom. It kind of drifted to the bottom of the container. So now we've figured out what happens with our crayon. I want you to take your sink or float worksheet, and on that last column on the end, I want you to do a check mark for what happened with your crayon. So if your crayon sank to the bottom, you're going to want to do a check mark in sink. But if it floated, you want to put a check mark in float. So see, my crayon sank. So I put a check mark under sank. See, right here. So make sure that you write that down, okay? Very good. All right, so the next one we're going to do is the straw. Does everyone have their straw? Hold it up for me if you have it. Very good. Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, so I'm going to put my container back. Now, you're more than welcome to, if you want to pull your items out of the water every time we're done with them, you can, or you can just keep it in your container as well. So I have my straw here. Now, depending on your container, you might have to maybe cut it in half if it's too long. You're more than welcome to do that because it won't change the weight too much. But it's up to you. So we're going to go ahead and take our straw, okay? And we're going to go ahead and put it in the water. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Woo! Okay. So, what happened to your straw? Did it sink or did it float? What do you think? If you think that it sank, check on your worksheet that it sank. If it floats, check out that it floated. See, and it's hard. I know this angle is difficult, but I think you guys can see my straw on the top of my water here. See? There it is. That means that that item has a lot of buoyancy. So that means it would float. It doesn't sink. It doesn't have the molecules in our straw they're not super dense. So they didn't sink. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that there, that item floated. All right. The next one we're going to move on to is our plastic container that would be in a toy machine. Who has that? Well, you guys are on the ball today. I love puns, so I had to put it in there somewhere. So we all have this, right? Okay, now does this feel super heavy to us if you were to toss it lightly in your hand? Is this a super heavy item? Or is it super light? Do you think it's more like the straw? Or do you think it's more like the crayon? These are just things to ask yourself. I know we have our audio off, but these are things to ask yourself. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put this in the water now, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ooh, look at that. It looks like a ship. You see how it's bobbing around in the water? That definitely did not sink. That's so cool. That would even be neat to put like a little toy in there. You could always use it in the bathtub. Pretend they're in a ship. It'd be pretty cool. So on our sheet, we want to go ahead and mark down that that item, whatever it did for you, that's what you want to mark down. So for me, that means it floated. Now, like I said, if you want, like for instance, I'm going to take my straw out because it's taking a lot of room. So I'm just going to put that on my paper towel. But I might leave the crayon in there. The crayon's kind of cool on the bottom. All right, so our next one that we're going to do is the cotton ball. Who has their cotton ball? Hold your cotton ball up if you have it. Oh, awesome. Okay, so now, does this feel heavy to you? You could also toss this in your hand like the previous item. Or is it heavy or is it light? I think this one might surprise us a little bit. I'm not sure. We'll have to see because it feels very light to me, but sometimes grown-ups will use this for their makeup, right? They'll put like makeup remover on this, or sometimes you can even paint with these, which is pretty cool. But okay, are we ready to put it in the water and see what happens? Yeah? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, now this one is a funny one because you'll see it initially does one thing and then something else happens. This one's kind of cool. So for mine is actually floating halfway in the water. It's not on the surface, but it's not on the bottom of the container either. It's right in the middle. So what that means, remember we were talking about density and buoyancy, is that when you look at this in our container, our cotton ball is more dense once it's filled with water than our plastic toy holder, like from the machine, but our cotton ball is more buoyant than our crayon. Our crayon has more density to it, so it's on the bottom, but our cotton ball is right in the middle. So you can see how those 3 items alone have all different densities and buoyancies. All right, so make sure you go to your worksheet and you write down what your cotton ball did. Now, I know that one's kind of a tricky one, so maybe that's more of like a middle check. But you tell me on your worksheet what you thought it did more. Did it act like it floated more than sank? Then go ahead and put it under float. If you think that yours sank to the bottom more than floated, then I would put it under sank. I'm going to put mine that it floated, but it's more in the middle. All right, so let's see. Can I get a thumbs up if we're ready to move on to the next item? Oh, very good. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for your participation. You're doing great with this. All right, so our next thing that we're going to do is our rubber band. Does everyone have their rubber band? Very good. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this in the water. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. So I don't know if you can see this. Oh, yes, you can. Okay. So this rubber band for me actually did a little bit of both. It's technically, I wish I could turn the top towards you, but I can't because I'd pour water all over my laptop. But it's technically part of the rubber band is still at the top of the water. But then another part of it is at the bottom. It's actually touching the bottom of the container. So this is another one like the cotton ball where it's not completely one way or the other. But then as you look, it actually sank finally to the bottom. So that does mean that the rubber band is a little bit more dense than we thought. It has more density still than the cotton ball because that cotton ball is still hanging out in the middle of the water here. Very good. You guys are doing great. I'm so proud of you. All right, so I'm going to write this down. So that one for me sank. We have a couple more to go, okay? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 items left. All right, so next, let's go ahead and do the pom-pom. Can you hold up your pom-pom? This one is a fun one to say. Very good. Awesome. Now this one is super soft, at least this one is. And it's about the size of my thumb. And I wonder what it's going to do compared to the cotton ball. I don't know if it'll float. I don't know if it'll sink. Or maybe it'll do the same thing. I'm not sure. Let's find out, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3, and drop. Let's see, I'm going to move that over a little bit. Wow. Okay, look. So I hope you can see, maybe if I turn it. So look, this is my black pom-pom here, and that's floating just like the plastic toy holder is from the machine. So the pom-pom is very buoyant, and it's definitely not dense. Because remember, If it was dense, it would be closer to the bottom or on the bottom of the container. But it's actually floating around just like a ship. Okay, so mark that down on your sheet. You guys are doing great. It's kind of funny. I was already wrong on some of these. All right, our next one is a popsicle stick. Now you guys have definitely seen some popsicle sticks because if you got the kit, you saw that we had our popsicle stick catapults. But this is another one that we're using just for this project. So this popsicle stick feels, not super heavy, but not super light, right? Let's find out what happens when we put it in the water, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. Let's see. I'll turn it so you guys can see this. It's tricky sometimes. Oh no, it's moving away from me. So if you can see, my popsicle stick is right on the top. It's floating just like the pom-pom. Is your popsicle stick floating just like your pom-pom? Yeah? That's cool. That means that we all kind of have the same turnout. All right, so go ahead and mark that on your sheet. Let's see. All right, and then give me the thumbs up when you're ready for your toothpick. Oh, very good. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and have our toothpick. Now remember, this one's a little sharp, so just be careful. And this one, it feels a lot lighter to me than the popsicle stick did. So let's find out what happens. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ooh. Make sure I move my cotton ball out of the way. So this one, I wonder if it's doing the same thing for you guys. The popsicle stick and the toothpick are both made of wood and they're both floating. I wonder that's why that's one of the reasons that ships are made out of wood. You never know, right? So you can see here, I know I have a lot of stuff in this water now, but you can kind of see it there. It's floating right next to the cotton ball. Very good. So make sure that you go to your worksheet, okay? I'm going to go ahead and put what happened, which for me, that floated. All right, so we have 2 more items. The first thing that we're going to use is the small bead, the little baby bead. Do you guys all have that? Do you have the small bead? Very good. Now this guy's pretty light. So let's see what happens. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ooh. I don't know if it did the same thing for you guys, but when I dropped it super high, when it dropped in the water, it actually went all the way to the bottom of the container first and popped right back up. Kind of like a life preserver. It was pretty cool. And for me, it's floating. So I'm going to mark that down on my worksheet. All right, and then for our last one, we are going to use our large bead. Now this is another one, like I said, that kind of like the pom-poms, each person received a different type of large bead. And some of you that may have siblings that got kits as well might notice that. Some of you got like this pink one that I have. Some of you may have gotten a green one or a blue one, and they're all different shapes. So there are different things that can happen with this, but they're relatively all the same size. So we're just going to test this out. Ready? So we have our bead. We're going to drop it in. This is our last one. Ready? 1, 2, 3. No way. So what happened to that bead? Did that float? Here, you can nod yes for float or no, shake your head no if it did not float. Did that big bead float? No. What did it do? It went all the way down to the bottom, right? Very good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my water to the side here, and I'm going to mark down that it sank. So now we can all look at our own sheets, okay, and we can see that different things happened at different times, okay? So, for instance, I thought initially that, let's see, I thought the crayon would sink, and I was right. I thought the straw would float, and it was correct with that. Let's see, the cotton ball. Was anyone else nod your head yes if you were surprised, or shake your head no if you weren't? Was anyone else surprised by the cotton ball? Sort of. Yeah, I know that I was. I really thought that that was going to sink initially, but all the way to the bottom, because I thought if it sucked all the water in, it would get really heavy and it would drop. And it kind of did, but it only went to the middle, which is crazy. You guys can let me know in the chat, was there anything that we had as an object that surprised you? Like, was there anything that you thought, oh, this will definitely float, but then it sank? Or was there anything opposite that you thought would definitely sink, but it floated? If you want to share any of those in the chat, you're more than welcome to. Or not, you can just think about that to yourself as well. But let me just take a look at my checklist here. So we went ahead and went through every one of our items, right? Okay, so the thing is we have to kind of explain the science behind it now. So one thing that I kind of like to think to myself, and I hope that you guys would think to yourself about this too, is why do you think things float or sink in general? Is it because of weight? Is it because of their size, how big they are, or how small they are? These are all things, if you'd like to tell me in chat, you're more than welcome to. So as I was mentioning before to you guys, what happens is items sink or float depending on their density or their buoyancy. So things that are very buoyant sit on the top of the water. So like our small bead that we had is very buoyant because that just stayed right at the top. Our pom-pom sank. So that ended up being pretty dense actually. It's on the bottom of the container now, just like the rubber band and the crayon, which is pretty cool. So how it works is the denser that an object is, the more dense it is, the more it'll sink. And the more buoyant the item is, the more it'll float. And then you have items like the cotton ball that kind of stayed in the middle, right? That's pretty cool too. So what happens is density is determined by how close the molecules are in an item. And you can only see molecules if they were under a microscope. So anything that you pick up has molecules, but you can't see them. So like this pen that I have. This pen has molecules which are holding it together, making it a physical item. But even if I squint really, really hard, I still can't see the molecules in this pen. So they are the tiny things that make up that item, and you know, if you had a microscope like real scientists do, then you would be able to put that under and be able to see how small those molecules really are. So we are finished with our experiment, and I hope that you guys really enjoyed it. One thing that I'd like to tell you guys is that what's cool with this experiment is that most of the things that the library handed out to you are not consumables. So what that means is you could take out most of these items and let them dry. And if you wanted to perform this experiment again, you definitely could. And that is one thing that scientists do all the time, is they may run the same experiment 3, 4, 10, 12 times to prove the point that they had for their hypothesis, which was on your worksheet here. So if you really enjoyed this, you are more than welcome. Those items are yours. You're more than welcome to dry them out and test them again. Or if you're running it the same day, you can do that as well. You don't even have to dry the items out. Although in certain situations, that would make a difference. So like with the cotton ball. Oh gosh, I wanted to pull it out to show you, but it's dripping. So like this, I just pulled it out. I just squeezed it out before I pulled it out, but it's got so much water in it right now. So that would affect how it would work. Oops, sorry, my kitty cat is trying to steal the straw off the floor. Sorry. So that would change how everything goes because it still has so much water in it. So like for this, for example, you might need another cotton ball. But other than that, like the beads, everything else, they don't absorb the water, so they should be fine. So we really appreciate you guys coming to our STEM program. Just so you know, as I mentioned before, I'm the Youth Services Coordinator at the library. Ever since back before COVID started, we knew that we would have to do things more in a virtual fashion, and that is the way that we're going for the foreseeable future right now. We're not sure when in-person programs will come back, but we're trying to do everything that we would do in person here with you guys now over Zoom. So just so you guys, if you're interested, if you loved this program, the next 2 Fridays are 2 more STEM programs that you can attend, which are going to be really fun. So I know we're doing marshmallow toothpick towers together on October 2nd, which is really cool. And then you can eat the marshmallows afterwards, which is always fun to pair science and things. Hello! That was great. Thank you so much. So we'll do that on October 2nd. That was the laugh I needed today. Thank you. And then we do have another program coming up next Friday, and I'm blanking on it right now. But if you go to our Facebook page, I already have the events up for both Fridays. And it'll work the same way that this did, where if you come to pick up the kit, it'll have both activities in it. So it will have next Friday's activity along with October 2nd's activity in the same bag. You're not required to attend either of them, but we would really encourage and love to have you guys, just like you guys were here today with us. This was amazing, such a good group. It was really fun to see your faces while we were doing the experiment. But yeah, we would love to have you, and thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you all enjoyed it. Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. See you later. Bye. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you later. Thank you for joining us. Bye. Have a good day. Hope you have fun. Okay. Whew. All right, so I gotta write down how many people I have.